NBA draft is exactly 1 week away. We have almost made it to the big night on Wednesday, June 26th. And on today's show, we're going to talk about the latest draft rumors surrounding the Miami Heat, couple prospect breakdowns, as well as The Ringer and ESPN released new mock drafts, which featured picks at 15 for Miami, which we have not talked about in the past. But first, I want to give a shout out to the first commenter club, Xavier Wolfs, the Big Mike Wazowski, Cuban Rafter, Anthony CC44, and David Reedy 5977. Because they are real ones, they obviously have their notifications turned on, so they comment first. If you want to get shout out on future shows, make sure you have those notifications turned on, and don't be afraid to comment in the comment section down below on whatever the topics are on our videos. All right, let's get into Tyler Kolek now, the point guard from Marquette, because the Ringer's Kevin O'Connor had the Heat drafting Kolek at 15 in his most recent mock draft he put out earlier in the week. Tyler Kolek would be the most Heat pick ever because he has got the intangibles, the IQ, the ability to lead, as he was the player of the year in the Big East just a couple seasons ago. The Marquette point guard is rising up draft boards. 15 might be a little rich where Miami is picking in the first round, but Kolek is definitely someone I have on my radar for the Miami Heat with the 15th overall selection. Kevin O'Connor gave his reasoning on why Miami could draft Kolek at pick 15. He said Kolek's stock appears to be on the rise as the draft approaches, with teams viewing him as a versatile guard who can provide immediate knockdown shooting and reliable playmaking. I've heard him connected as high as here, though perhaps if a lottery team trades down, then Kolek could be a target for them too. If Miami lands him, he then would be able to fill a clear position of need and could develop a nice two-man chemistry with Bam Adebayo. Now, it is interesting with Tyler Kolek. He is a very solid ball player, but he just doesn't have the highest ceiling. Now, he would be able to have a really high floor and be able to contribute to the Heat immediately, but I'm not so sure like a two-man connection between him and Bam would be able to really blossom into anything special long term. Now, Kolek, I do believe, can run a second rotation and be a backup point guard right away in the NBA due to his age, his experience, and his veteran presence that he had at Marquette. But I do want to give myself a self-plug here, by the way, as well, because you would have known that Tyler Kolek is on the Heat's radar, at least in terms of the first round of the draft, just about a couple weeks ago, if you followed me over at Twitter, because I tweeted this out on June 8th, that Tyler Kolek worked out for the Heat. Originally came from Greg Sylvander and honestly Austin/Chef Trilly, who had the little note, groupie sources as he likes to call them. And I stated he would be the most Heat pick ever at 15 back then, so follow me on Twitter if you want more content and coverage surrounding the Miami Heat. But more on Kolek here. And I want to showcase his statistics from the last season at Marquette because he did win Big East Player of the year prior. Not in 23-24, but in 22-23 when Marquette ended up winning the Big East and was a 2 seed in the NCAA tournament. He led them there. He is one of the best, if not the best playmaker in this draft. To me, I think Nikola Topic is the best playmaker out of Serbia, who I've been interested for the Heat if he slips to 15, but unlikely he'll do so. Kolek is probably number 2, though. Great assist-to-turnover ratio, and he is very efficient at scoring. He can get into the rack. He has this really smooth scoop lefty layup, as he is a left-hander, that just seems like no one can stop it. And he plays at his own pace, too, which is what I love, and why, to me, I think it would be a good idea for the Heat to take him. And you saw on screen as well, good three-point shooter, shooting about 38% from the field. So be Pat Riley for me. After hearing more about Tyler Kolek, would you draft him with the 15th overall pick? Type D for draft or type P for pass. More on Kolek, as we do have a scouting report. These are all my notes, by the way. He's a cerebral player who excels at reading opposing defenses and opponents' leverages. That kind of goes into that little nugget I just had here. Like, he can get over a screen and then kind of get the defender on his hip or back and then get that little scoop lefty layup or drop it off to the big man. I do believe he can be someone who can run a second unit as the primary point guard early in his career. The only issue I have with him is that limited athletically, not going to play above the rim, will have to play below the rim, won't throw down any dunks or anything like that. And I think there is a chance he struggles against size in the NBA and more physical defenders, but playing in the Big East, that will always help because it is the most physical league in in college basketball, in my opinion. Now, I do want to say this as well. He is the 26th overall player on my big board, and I gave him a Reggie Jackson comparison. Reggie Jackson had a really good career in the NBA, so that's no knock on Tyler Kolek, good guard who started, played as a sixth-man off the bench as well throughout his career. I think he's a fine player. I will admit, I think he fits well with Miami. Just think 15 might be a little bit of reach. So if the Heat wanted to take Kolek and felt comfortable with him being there at 18, 19, and the Cavs are rumored to want to trade up for 20, could the Heat trade back 5 spots with Cleveland and net Tyler Kolek? Could be a possible move. Want to do a programming update here. We are going to be live on Friday on the Heat Report. Yes, you heard that correctly. Our first ever weekly live show. We're going to come on here, talk draft, trade rumors, break down Miami Heat basketball. We'll be live at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Central Time. Come join us. Make sure you hit that sub button and lock us in for the Heat Report throughout the offseason and this Friday. Oh, Major Anthony Nelson's going to be happy about this one. Draft Zach Edey. Well, the most recent ESPN mock draft that actually released this morning had the Heat selecting the Purdue center with the 15th overall pick. We have briefly mentioned Zach Edey in the past. I actually did a full video on Zach Edey and his basically prospect breakdown on how he would fit with Miami and why I'm kind of against this. But I do want to rehash as ESPN did mock this. I actually want to ask ESPN a question. So, Jeremy Woo, Jonathan Givony, if you're watching this video, why are you so obsessed with having Zach Edey go to the Miami Heat? Like, I feel like this is the second or third mock draft where you have had Edey go to the Heat. Yes, Zach Edey did work out with Miami, so it's clear that the Heat are doing some background information on him and have at least 1% interest. I just don't see the fit, and we'll talk more about that in just a second. But make sure you do get your Miami Heat draft hats. 1 week away, so there is a chance the hats will get here in time before the NBA draft. Whoever Miami takes at 15 will be walking the stage and wearing this hat. So get yours today, chatsports.com/HeatDraftHats. It's going to be in the description and comments of today's video. Flat brim, snapback, curved brim, they got it all. Get yours today. This is where Givony had to say about Zach Edey heading to Miami. He said, Edey, ranked 16 in the ESPN's top 100, is drawing interest from teams that are drafting in front and behind Miami, with every team in the back half of the lottery after San Antonio said to be in the market for a center. Utah, Portland, and Sacramento were some of his latest stops on the workout circuit, and he might end up visiting the Los Angeles Lakers as well. Edey's combination of size, power, and intensity has been difficult to contain in a workout setting, as there simply aren't many players in this draft equipped to slow him down. Now, I'm going to continue to say this. I don't think he's a good fit with the Miami Heat. And I do want to point out, as Givony mentioned, the teams that are interested in Edey, it does feel like Zach Edey's like a ceiling in terms of where he could get drafted is 12 to the Oklahoma City Thunder and somewhere in between 20 and 25 as well. So 12 to 25 is probably his range, and Miami's obviously there at 15. But I just don't see the fit with Edey. The Miami Heat do need to add size, and I get it. Edey's the biggest guy in the draft. It makes a lot of sense if they need size. The issue is they need functional size, versatility that can do multiple things, go on the perimeter and defend, give you offensive spacing alongside Bam Adebayo. Edey simply can't do that. He's going to have to play in severe drop coverage in the NBA. His offensive repertoire is only really post-ups and turning over to his left hook and right hook over smaller defenders. Improved footwork this season, yes, but he just doesn't have the versatility to do a lot of things offensively and defensively. He's a one-trick pony, at least at this point in his career, and if the Heat are going with a more experienced guy and prospect in the draft, I think there's just better fits out there. But maybe you guys disagree. Does Zach Edey fit with the Miami Heat? This channel's a democracy. If you disagree with me, you can let me know. Type Y if you think Edey fits, type N if you think he doesn't, and you're with me. It is hard to deny the statistical output that Zach Edey can give you on a nightly basis. Probably would only play 10 to 17 minutes a ball game right away as a backup center in the NBA, and maybe he could give you really good numbers. I mean, he averaged 25 and 12 at Purdue and was one of the best rim protectors in the entire college scene, averaging 2.2 blocks a game. And he obviously altered way more shots than just the two and change because of how lengthy his arms are. Like Edey, I'm not denying that he can give you some nice things inside the NBA. I just don't like the ceiling on Edey. Don't like the fit with or behind Bam Adebayo. And I also don't think the Heat should be drafting a backup center at pick 15. But he does do a lot of nice things. Like I said, one of the best rim protectors in the NBA. He's a great deterrent, and Victor Wembanyama had some of these moments where players would drive and they'd see him in the paint and just kind of turn around. Edey could provide some of that, not to the same level as Wembanyama. And that's the thing. Like, I don't see the defense translating to the NBA. That's my biggest knock on him. And the second biggest knock is that he relies on his size too much. Improved arsenal moves on the block, as I kind of stated a little bit earlier, but he still relies on the right hook, left hook too often and just kind of releasing it above the opponent defending because they just simply can't contain him. On my big board, though, 32nd player. Don't think he's a first-round prospect in my eyes. I think there's 31 guys better. And if you were asking me a comparison for Zach Edey, I'd go with Victor Zubac, the center from the Los Angeles Clippers, who's carved out a nice career for him in the NBA after starting with the Lakers as a second-round pick, now the starting center in the Clippers. He's fine, but like Zubac can't really play down the stretch in these big games, and I think Edey would kind of be the same thing. I would take a flyer on him. Say the Heat traded back. I know we've talked about this trade in the past with the Knicks. 15 for pick 24 and 25. The Knicks moved up 10 spots, gave the Heat 2 first-rounders. If Edey was there at 24 and 25, sure, I'd take him with one of those 2 picks. Just don't think it's smart for Miami to take him at 15. That's my only reason why I'm out on Zach Edey. If you want more NBA draft content surrounding the Miami Heat, my Twitter's the best place to find it. At Nic_Rohloff is the handle. Go give me a follow because I'm talking Heat basketball on a daily basis. See you with the video tomorrow. Go Heat.